Welcome to another episode of Into the Pot, the weekly show where I review different pieces of media, what they meant to me, and how they changed and added flavor to the stew of my life. Today, we're talking about The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. As always, I'll start with a spoiler free look on what I thought was good, then what I thought was bad, and finish off with spoilers to discuss the themes and details that resonated with me. With that in mind, let's start off with the good. Now, the big question for The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is, does it still hold up today? So, when starting off with the good, I will tell you that I played it for the first time ever this year. Previously, I had picked it up for like 30 minutes, especially on the 3DS when they remade it, and I decided, oh, this is not a game for me right now. But since I made my whole video essay about the horror of sloth and the Zelda series, I thought Majora's Mask was the perfect game to showcase that, especially because of its time limit. And to be honest, I thought the time limit was going to be one of the bad things. But I actually quite liked it. But the biggest difference, though, where I played this game was on the Nintendo Switch Online service. This game, and honestly, many games, benefit so much from the rewind feature and the sort of save state feature. I think that's one of my favorite parts about Nintendo Switch Online, besides the fact that you can play online with other friends, is the idea that these games were punishing. There's so many times where I made a wrong jump. There were so many times in this game where I was like, "Oh crap, I completely went the wrong way," or like I was walking this direction, it's like I needed to go back there. And since there was a time limit for this game, rather than being like, "Let me just backtrack," I just rewound the game. That is a very specific instance for me, and it made my enjoyment of the game so much better than it actually was. I really like that feature about the game, and it changed the world for me. Other things not involving sort of the time-based mechanic was just the fact that it was really fleshed out. I was so impressed by the amount of detail in Majora's Mask. I personally did not expect much. It was right on the coattails of Ocarina of Time, and I loved Ocarina of Time. But Majora's Mask was a game where I was like, what more could they really do? It's like the same textures, same graphics, same everything. And they really fleshed it out. I'm shocked. I loved the whole narrative. I thought the core Legend of Zelda gameplay was very good, and I thought the additions of the masks and powers of those masks was actually really cool. There were so many masks that by the end of the game, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't even know where to go for this one." And it's like, you need that pen and paper. It's a very old school style game where I was like, "Oh my god, where do I go with this?" But because they had a time loop, it was so great because I would see characters, I'd be like, "Oh, that's the person I need to see on day 3." So then let me like fast forward the time and then go talk to him on day 3 and then rewind to go back to day 1 to do a thing. And I was like, "Wow, this is like a puzzle upon a puzzle." It's like Glass Onion from Netflix, you know? So I really liked it. I think the core Zelda gameplay is very good. I do think the dungeons were decent. I think overall, for only having 4 main locations, it was a solid game. And I had a blast playing it. But now that the good is out of the way, let's discuss the bad. And I gotta be honest, there's quite a bit of bad for me with Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The biggest one being the amount of reused characters and textures from Ocarina of Time was insane. I did not expect that. Hopped into Romani Ranch and I was like, Malin? What the? No, she's Romani. I went to the graveyard. I was Dompe. I was like, what the heck? That's not him. Like there were so many characters in this game that were just completely reused from the previous one. And not that it's bad, but the first one was so iconic and it like rewrote your brain chemistry. It changed the flavor of my stew. And to see this was like, I don't know how to feel because I had already attributed so much to these characters and to just see them in a different role as if they were like actors, it was like, this is weird. I don't really enjoy this. And when you have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they're the same world and same characters that translate, but this one was like they look exactly the same and they're completely different. And I was like, what? Another aspect about it was the game is like old school hard. There's so many points in the game where I was like, this is just bummer that if I didn't have the rewind feature or like the save states, I would be like, yo, this is insane. I would be so pissed off about it. And I gotta be honest, the overall variety of the dungeons was good, but I didn't really vibe with the dungeons as much. It might just be, like I've played a lot of games and I moved past sort of that formula, which, not that it's bad, it's just did it spark that much joy for me to go through it, especially because I love the narrative a lot and I love the characters, but going to those dungeons was like, where am I going? And Ocarina of Time, those dungeons, for some reason, feel a lot more structured. And I liked it a lot more. And even though like the dungeons in Majora's Mask are like so varied, like they use different powers, different masks, different, ocarina songs, it just feels like I didn't want to do those. And I wanted to do more with the interactions of all the characters because the time loop and how they change over time was the most important thing and the coolest part for me. And I gotta say, in the realm of old school hard, the bosses were so freaking annoying. Oh my god. The worst one was the two centipedes going around. It's like twin mold or something, I think it's called. That boss was by far the worst boss I've ever fought in any Zelda game. And I know they've made changes in the remake of the 3DS, and maybe they will remake it again with better changes. But it was just terrible. Like all I had to do was just put on the giant's mask and then just like smack them. But the sword kept bouncing on the freaking bodies of them and not hitting at the face and the tail. And it was just like, oh, but my magic meter is going down and I'm timed and stuff like that. And granted, there might have been a lot more things that would have benefited me, especially in the Majora final boss, right? I think, obviously if I'd done more mask quests, gotten more hearts, gotten more, who knows, it would have been made it a little bit easier. But, as a gamer, you know, in his 30s now, fuck, uh, it's the idea like, I don't have that much time. I don't want to go through all of these quests because I need to move on to other things. And Majora's Mask was a game that I wanted to play, but I didn't want to 100% beat everything about it. Though I respect it and I checked a lot of the side quests that I wasn't able to do myself online. But yeah, that's pretty much for the bad. And so now finally, let's talk about those themes and details that resonated with me. With Beware, I will now be talking about actual spoilers. So, the biggest thing that I've been saying throughout this video is I actually love the narrative. I loved the narrative. The idea that the world was ending because this kid gets possessed by this Majora's Mask, like curse and whatnot, and the fact that he turned to this dark evil because he felt like his friends were abandoning him because they became guardians and he was so lonely and he just wanted friends and everything else like that. Oh my God, that's like so impactful because I think nowadays it's like the idea for young boys or young children in general is like this loneliness and this feeling of isolation that we've grown up with. And especially the power of the internet has made kids angrier, wanting to destroy the world. Like depression runs rampant nowadays. So it's a little bit prophetic in a way. But I was like, oh my God. And the solution to that, besides, getting the cursed Majora's Mask off his face, is that he befriends Link. And there's that little piece at the end where you see the two of them in the little carving. And I'm like, that's so sweet. I loved that. And it was so nice to see. I loved that aspect about Majora's Mask. I don't think I felt that wholesome about any Zelda game before. Another aspect of the themes and details that I loved, and I wrote a ton about this about my Horror of Sloth video, is the fact that people were so indecisive. They were just helpless when it came to saving themselves. Like they were like, "Oh, so the moon is getting bigger? I think. Should I leave? Should I not?" And then the mayor had the whole meeting where they were like, "No, we have to stay for the festival and stuff." And so there was like so many layered themes about like the world is ending. Stop living your normal lives. And so many people were. And it was so interesting to see how many people reacted with calamity. Because in the other games, like they're just living their lives, right? But here you get this different sense where you watch these people deal with, the world's about to end. And it's like, do I live my normal life? Crap, like what do I do? There's like the punk rocker with all the little chicks around. And he's like, I wanted to see them grow up to be chickens. I guess I won't. And you're like, oh my God, like where's the drive? Where's the motivation? And so I really like that I really like seeing all those characters interact with the idea that the world is ending. And I think it's so beautiful. And I wrote a lot about it in my Horror Sloth video, which you should absolutely check out. But that's sort of the themes that I loved about this game. And it made me like really appreciate this game for what it was. So with that all in mind, I would give The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask a solid 8.5 out of 10. So there you have it. So there you have it. I gave you my thoughts and opinions about what Majora's Mask meant to me. And now I want to hear what you all think about it down in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with my opinions or the general consensus about it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. As always, check the links in the description for my main video essay channel and my Patreon to help support the channel and recommend media for me to review next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.